All right. Welcome to the Wealth Architect. I'm Emilio DiSpirito, and I'm excited to have you on with us today. We've got some spectacular guests here, and we're on episode number 4. I can't believe it. It's been an exciting ride, but I want to introduce our next guest, and it's Jordan Stupar. And Jordan is just an amazing guy. I've been following him since 2020. I bought his cash cards. You got to check these out, cash cards. And they help salespeople and business owners clear objections, but he's just so much more than that. We're going to learn about him and his company, Stupar Enterprises, today. So, Jordan, I'd like to welcome you on the program. What's going on, man?
Thanks for bringing me on. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. So, big fan, great stuff. I saw your episode, your interview with Brad Lee. You knocked the ball out of the park, and very high level stuff.
I appreciate it. I love having higher end conversations, business, sales, money, all of the things that matter to the people out there trying to go out and get it.
And that's right. And our audience here, we've got so many different people from so many different walks of life, but they all have the same common goal, and that's creating a life of wealth, health, and happiness. And I mean, there's no such thing as a business failing if there's sales in the pipeline and if sales is abundance, right? In abundance, because sales is the lifeblood of any business. Would you agree?
100% without a doubt.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk with Jordan about, different questions that are going to engage you and help you to kind of look at your business from a different lens. Grab a notebook, grab a pen, take some notes. And you can also find him, by the way, if you want to connect with him, you can check him out at jordanstupar.com. Jordan, and that's STUPAR.com. All right, Jordan, let's get right into it. You've said, and I've heard this before from you, that cold calling is dead, but prospecting isn't. So how should today's high-performing salespeople actually be approaching outreach in 2025?
Great question. And I think cold calling is technically, I think it's dead unless you do a couple of things. That's why I usually say that cold calling is on life support.
Okay.
Just picking up the phone and calling somebody, sure, statistically you'll have some result. I think statistically the ideal sales outcome on a cold call is about 2%. So take it as you will. It can work, and of course some people still do it. However, if you really want to experience true success in sales from a prospecting and cold calling perspective, you need to be using a lot of other formats or channels of communication. For instance, I talk to my team all the time about this. It's really easy to just dial through the phone and ignore email, or again, doing some of the other things like Googling somebody, maybe finding their Facebook page, their Insta, their Twitter, their YouTube channel if they have one, LinkedIn, obviously, and sending them a message or finding a way to interact with them on some of their posts or whatever it is. All you're really looking to do is just directly get in some type of contact with somebody that was previously unaware of your existence, and then generate some level of interest. And so, cold calling by itself, sure. If you really, really want to grind and you don't want to do any of those things, you'll have, I guess, maybe some success. But if you truly want to unlock what cold calling is supposed to be, you've got to use a bunch of different channels.
Yeah, you sure do. I like what you said about connecting with them on social media. They're getting to see you as a human, and people make decisions emotionally, not, off of logic so much. Would you agree?
That's correct. 100%. I don't even know where it came from, but there's a sales line that's been around for probably predating my life that people buy off of emotion and they close with logic. So a bunch of that sales process has to be on that emotional aspect. And then, of course, when it's time to get somebody to make a decision, that's where we got to be a little bit more logical with our buyer.
So is there one tip, or is there something or something that you've said or learned, or that, you've taught your students, your clients over the years, to anything that can help people connect with people on that cold call? I mean, something that has worked along all of the different industries. Is there a way to kind of cut through the tape and not get hung up on and connect with people? Is there any secret sauce or any secret saying that you've found that works really well?
There's probably two answers to that question.
Okay.
And answer number one is, if you are making those types of cold calls, grab a sheet of paper while you're making those calls and write down verbatim, word for word, what some of those just initial objections are for your industry or whatever it is that you're doing. For context, and kind of a fun story, is back in the day, I was working cold calling on car dealerships, looking for the general manager. And if you do that, then you know how painful of an experience that can be, because those guys get, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 sales calls every single day. Long story short is, I would make those calls and, hey, John, it's Jordan over here. Hey, bro, we're having our, tent event this weekend. Gotta go. Click. Hey, man, my F&I manager is staring at me right now, wondering why I'm on the phone with you. And I'm just writing that down. Hey, man, we just got Godzilla on top of the dealership and the taco truck just pulled up for our weekend sale. Click. And so I would write all these things down. And so here's answer number one is, if you can use those objections yourself, then your buyer can't use them. So I would pick up the phone, and after I learned some of this, I would call and say, hey, John, Jordan over here. I know that you've got 2 green peas out on the lot blowing a deal. You've got a heat case in your service department. Godzilla just got parked up on the dealership. Your taco truck just pulled up for your weekend sale. Your F&I manager staring at you, wondering why you're picking up the phone. And of course, you probably don't even have any time, but do you have 30 seconds? And more often than not, people would kind of chuckle or, laugh, and they would at least give me that 30 seconds that I was looking for. So number one, use the objections yourself so that they can't be used on you. Number two is, and this is part of some of the things that I train my clients on, but when you're reaching out to people, I want you to be thinking on the 2 just most general problems that the vast majority of the people that you're calling on actually have. For instance, part of our script, if we're making cold call out here to get quick attention, is to simply say, I'm calling on the off chance that either A, you have some intention on providing your sales team with better sales training materials so that they can develop more skills and improve sales, or you have some intention on being able to track and monitor your people's skill development right now. And I leave it out there. And either way that they answer that question, I get to say, great, that's exactly what we do and specifically why I'm calling, blah, blah, blah. And so that can be another good tip, is just taking the 2 main problems that you could solve for just about anybody that you call, lay them out there. And again, once they answer that question, then you're pretty much in the green to kind of follow up with a series of questions and generate interest.
You know what I love about that is, you've taken 2 of those major problems that most, if not all, of your prospects are going to have, and you've laid it out on the line with them, and you basically said this or that one. You didn't give them the option to get out or to walk away without telling you one, right? So you've
Exactly.
right. And I think you've built authority in by the way you approach the situation. I would imagine by knowing, what I know about you, and I've been following you online for a while and see your content, that you do infuse some humor, but you also are authentic in your delivery. Can we talk about a couple of things here? So I get so many questions going through my head, Jordan, right? Actually, we'll talk about authenticity in a second. Okay. But I first want to talk about, were you always smooth talking, or is that a skill that you've developed over time?
No. I could unpack that whole story, but I don't think that's really where the value is. The value truly is in the fact that I wasn't really born this way. I didn't really always talk this way. I wasn't always confident or certain or scripted or polished. That was absolutely something that I've spent a lot of intentional effort developing so that I could communicate at a higher level with people and feel more confident in my delivery.
Sure. And I think that's where a lot of people might kind of hit a wall in the business, right? Any business, right? So they open a business and they might be really good at accounting, or they might be really good at management, but they're not good at sales. And you either got to hire someone in sales, Okay, that is, or you need to be a student of the game and you need to fail forward and you need to not fear the rejection and understand that the rejection and the failure are all parts of learning how to succeed and then eventually coaching somebody else on how to take that position over. From the salespeople you coach, Jordan, how long does it normally take them to get proficient and to find success if they're doing this each and every single day and studying and reading books and putting 100% effort in? Can you give us a range? Is it like 2 months? Is it like 6 months? Is it like 2 years?
I would say, based on the sample size of data that I have, which is probably about 1,500
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
salespeople that I've personally worked with, not just people that grab cards or a course or something, people I've
Mm.
actually coached. I would say on average, it takes between 3 to 6 months to truly get them to a different level or dimension of communication.
Yeah.
And you can shorten that up by more continuous role playing and just drilling people over and over and over again to say a specific thing. The thing that you're really trying to attempt to do is just memorize whatever it is that you want to say, internalize it for its own meaning and authenticity, and then personalize the delivery so that you can really be you, but you're not just winging it. You are
Yeah.
kind of sticking to a script, but you don't sound like it.
That seems to be like the hardest thing. People get tripped up in trying to get it perfect too, right? Like I could tell you my memory sucks. Like I'm not somebody that does well with scripts, so I know that I need to fail forward. I need to learn it by just doing it and I'm eventually going to catch on. So I tell people, listen, it's okay to have like something jotted down in front of you. Look, I'm running this podcast and I've got something in front of me. You probably don't.
I
But
got
maybe
iPads.
all
Yeah, I got
right,
my
you got
notepad on my computer.
right. So you gotta make it your own, but you gotta internalize it. And I want to this allows me to jump into the next part. My next question for you is being authentic in today's world. Now I could tell you, right? I'm in real estate and several other businesses, but I could tell you if you look on Instagram or if you look on Facebook or anywhere, realtors and other professionals are becoming so templated. They're becoming so generic in their messages and what they're saying in their emails and their texts and their replies because they're leaning on AI and they're all sounding the same. Everybody wants to unlock your home value. How important is it to be authentic in sales? And what advice would you give people um, into like how they can shine more being authentic? Like what can they do to be that person? Like how can they connect with people on a more personalized level, I guess is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to get to.
there's kind of two different approaches to this. One is kind of like the one to one, and the other one would be, I guess, the one to many, what you kind of do on social media and kind of advertise yourself.
Mhm.
Um, on the one to one, if I really want to lock in a sale to the best of my abilities, I'm just going to display and deploy genuine curiosity about somebody. I just had a coaching call about this yesterday with kind of an exercise where, I could ask you what your favorite color is, and you can give me that awful salesy one word answer of green.
Mm.
And I can either just leave it at that, or I can continue digging a little bit based on my own personal experience of my favorite color being green. And dude, by the way, how long has green been your favorite color? Has it always been that way, or is that something? And you can start kind of getting to a deeper level of depth with another person where, dude, we might get to know details about each other just discussing what's your favorite color.
True.
And I think a lot of people in sales, and I know this for myself back in the day, is we're kind of in it for ourselves. We're excited about the commission, we're excited to sell a house or whatever it is that we're trying to do, versus truly establish a relationship with the person that has the money and is going to do the sale anyway. If anybody hasn't read it, a good book that really illustrates what I'm talking about is To Sell is Human by Daniel H. Pink. I want to say within the first chapter, maybe the second chapter, but pretty much right off in the beginning of the book, I think he surveys either 1,000 or 10,000 salespeople across various industries. And his intention was to answer the question, what is the number one trait that successful salespeople have? Is it confidence? Is it good looks? He discovered that the number one trait of successful salespeople was just genuine curiosity.
That's right.
And if you can be curious and you can ask some questions and you can just humanize that interaction, then more often than not, you're going to get somebody to like you. And if you remember back to the other quote of people will do business with people that they know, like, and trust.
That's right.
They're going to know who you are. They're going to like you. And of course, when there's a relationship formed, they're going to trust you. And that's the person that they're going to do business with.
Perfectly said. And I've found over the years, and I've heard many of my mentors tell me this, and it's he who or she who controls the questions and asks more questions controls the conversation,
Correct.
right? And how many times have we seen salespeople go into appointments and just do all of the talking and the prospects just like bored sick, right? Do less talking, more question asking, and dig down into those questions to learn more. Fantastic.
To your point, and to validate what you just said, legitimately, I forget who did the research. Somebody can chat GPT this, but the top closers in any industry generally spend less than 40% of the entire sales presentation or interaction doing the talking. So if you automatically want to increase the amount of money that you make in sales and have more success, talk less.
100%. Absolutely. It's almost like treat it like a podcast, right? Like they're your guest. You're interviewing them.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, right? Like I'm curious on your thoughts on this, right? Like when I'm walking into a sales meeting and like I crush it in real estate sales, right? Like when I walk into a sales meeting, I am seeing if that client is fit for me, right? Just as much as they're seeing if I'm fit for them. And I want to interview them because there's a lot of times, Jordan, where, and I think the best salespeople do this, like, look, I don't want to work with this person, so I'll close the book in front of me and I'll just politely excuse myself. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you suggest that people go in to qualify their sale, or should they go in to disqualify the sale?
I think probably I try to kind of keep an open mind about it. I wouldn't say that I go in with the intention of, disqualifying somebody. Obviously, you're going to be qualified or disqualified based on whatever ends up happening. And I'm pretty comfortable with both. I think the problem that a lot of people struggle with is they have a bit of a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And they also they want to sell everybody. And it's one, it's unrealistic that you're actually going to do that. And number two, you don't want to sell everybody. And so once you do come to grips with the fact that, hey, only 20% of the market is going to be my ideal avatar, or 30%, or whatever the deal is. Once you come to terms with that and truly own it, then being authentic is a pretty easy thing to do, because all you're looking to do is attract and work with people that are going to value what you bring to the table, your skill sets, your expertise, your demeanor and attitude. And so, forget the other 70% of people that I don't want to work with anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a bit to do with mindset and just the realism of the fact that, look, it'd be great to sell 900 homes every year and bat 100%. But like, would you really want to anyway?
I don't know, man. I kind of love living my life. I love doing my personal stuff too, But yeah, I guess you would just develop systems that could handle that and put people in place and, models in place to handle that. But that's a whole different conversation. So, hey, if you're just tuning in, or you're just, now tuning into the podcast, we're on the phone, we're on the line, see that? I'm always calling. We're on the line with Jordan Stupar of Stupar Enterprises, and you can check him out at jordanstupar.stupar. Is it Stupar or Stupar?
Stupar.
And you know what? I'm going to interrupt this for a second. I heard you say that you were unhooked on phonics as a kid. Is that true?
Yes, I was.
Nice. I was in remedial reading. They put me in like this class with all the other kids that were like drooling on themselves. And, and I think it's funny, right? Because all too often people get hung up on like, oh my God, how did you do in school? forget it. If you have street smarts and social skills, you can make it in business. You don't need to be an A plus student. You can be a C. I was an F student. I knew how to talk myself in or out of any situation to pass. My teachers got so sick of me, they wanted me out of their classes. So I've always wanted to say that on air. In my last podcast, like I was telling you about before we jumped on, I couldn't be up and open about what it is to be an entrepreneur and the fabric of success and the fabric of our type of people, Jordan, is that they have massive balls and they get it done and they put the right people in place and they use their vision, their imagination, and they get it done. But let me jump back to Jordan because he's a very impressive gentleman, and he's got 4,000 paying students right now, and he's got over 70,000 customers. He invented what's called the cash cards. Now, these are cards in various different industries that cover objections, the sales objections that you're going to have as a business owner, as a salesperson, and he can help you through these. It's a really great investment. They're like $70, $100, whatever they are, wherever you find them. But check them out at jordanstupar.com. You're going to be glad that you did. So Jordan, let's dive back into this because I can't believe we only have about 8 minutes left. This time flies. I could talk with you forever. How do you help salespeople? This is a big one. How do you help salespeople overcome the fear of rejection, especially when they're early in their careers or early in starting their business and they're hitting a slump?
Yeah. So, the fear of rejection is a human common problem. I don't like being rejected. Nobody does. But you can deal with it. It's obviously, if you're in sales or especially if you're in business, I mean, that's what you signed up for. So
Right.
Step number one is just understanding that no matter what you're selling, no matter how good looking you are or how polished your communication is, timing could be off or whatever the circumstance is, you're probably not going to get your way as often as you want to. So that's hurdle number one, belief and mindset number one. Number two is, the people that really get torn up over rejection or losing a deal or whatever happens, those are just people that really aren't putting enough activity or enough volume up to cover their ass when that rejection or that deal falls apart or whatever. If you had a lot of volume and you had 10 deals, 15 deals, 20 deals, whatever the thing is, and you had those things lined up, well then, so what? One person decided to flake on you or hang up on you or not do business. Like, I already have another 11 people that are likely to do business with me. And so look, if you are feeling the sting of rejection or the fear of loss of a deal or whatever, all that is an indication that you haven't been doing your job and you haven't been spending enough time truly filling up your pipeline. Quick sales statistic, because I got to know these in my line of field.
I love these.
83% of top income earners report that the only reason that they're a top income earner is because they spend the majority of their time consistently prospecting for new business, period. And that's not a weekly thing or a monthly thing. It's an everyday thing of connecting with more people. And obviously, the more people that you connect with, the more people you do business with, but also, again, if a deal cancels or whatever, you get rejected, so what? Like, there's more people to talk to.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why, like, dating in high school sucks is like, you throw all your eggs in one basket and you get dumped or, whatever the situation is. And, that wouldn't really be the case if you had, 5 other people that you were, interested in and talking to. I'm not saying that that's the right approach in life. I'm just saying it would sting a little bit less if you had other things lined up.
I think it's funny that you put, sales to dating like that because it kind of reminds you of like, we all have those thirsty friends or those friends that just strike out with the ladies, right? Like over and over and over. But it's all about I mean, it's all about how you show up. Like if people know you are that commission breath type of person, that sales first type of person, and they feel put last, they're not going to do business with you. Business is all about relationships and all about trust, most importantly, just like relationships, right? So, what is there a piece of advice or like something that you can tell or share with business owners or salespeople, Jordan, that can kind of get them over that hurdle to understand, like, look, this is the way you should be communicating with people, or don't do this, or any advice there?
Who are you becoming? And are you the type of person that could even experience the success that you're looking for in business?
Mm,
I constantly am searching for coaches and mentors and books and programs, seminars, and just anything I can get my hands on as a business owner
yeah.
to become a guy that knows how and is capable and brings enough value to the marketplace to make $50 million a year.
Hmm.
The only reason I haven't earned $50 million in a year or brought my business to that level yet, well, time hasn't really caught up, but I'm frantically looking to become the type of person that knows how to do it and is capable of doing it. And so, whether it's dating or sales or business or whatever, look at yourself, look at your habits, look at your behaviors, look at the way that you're spending your time.
Hmm.
I'm constantly trying to take a look at, dude, what can I burn out of my calendar? What bad habits do I know that I have that are absolutely hindering my ability to go to the marketplace and be a $50 million a year guy or whatever the goal is? And so, look, everyone wants to listen to a podcast and do more. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to add this to my list. The truth is that you probably don't need to do anything more. What you need to do is you probably need to sacrifice some of the things that you're already doing right now and start doing less so that you can focus more of your time on doing the things that you should be doing.
You know what the best part is it's the simple things that we avoid, right? We go after the shiny objects. We go after, like you said, like the next maybe podcast or the next idea, and we really should be honing in on thing, that one thing that can take us to that level. And then once we hit that one thing and do it really well, that's when you would systemize it, put the model, and then the people and the systems in place so that you can rinse and repeat. And if you're creative and you want to own and run other businesses, or if you want to expand that business somewhere else, then you hit the next point. So that's wonderful. Now, Jordan, I know you are a closer, right? I want to hear, and I know our listeners want to hear this. What's the craziest, most creative close that you have ever made, and what can we learn from it?
I would say the craziest, most creative close was pretty much twofold. There's two segments to the story. It's a good one. It's technically the biggest deal that I ever closed in my personal sales career. I was closing a deal with Sprint Wireless 2016, and I was dealing with the president of Sprint. So I was 29, I think, at the time. So like young kid walking into the president's office, and I was walking in with a 7-figure contract. And this is like years in the making. And like, this is like the moment I get to sit down at the table. And it was more of like a digital online product. And I sit down with them and I'm like, here's the deal. And he looks at it and kind of like winces and like takes off his glasses, leans back and says like,
The
you know,
flinch.
did you take economics in college? And I said, no, I actually dropped out so I could, pursue sales. He said, cool, I'm going to give you economics 101 real quick. And he grabbed like a little sheet of paper or whatever, and he drew a graph, and then he drew a linear line. That's what I remember from school. It's just that straight up line from corner to end. And he said, if you were selling me hot dogs, no matter how many hot dogs I buy, the price just goes up and up. Maybe I get a price break at 1,000 or whatever, but pretty much it's a tangible product, and that would be it. You aren't selling hot dogs. You're selling software, which I understand is more of a staircase. So you're asking for all the money that's at the top right of this graph, but really, like, we're kind of down here in price. So instead of this, let's slash it by 75%. You'll still make some money. It's still a profitable deal. And that's what I'd be willing to sign right now. And as those words left his mouth, that's where I realized what salespeople are. I realized, and I said, his name was Claudio. I said, Claudio, I respect and appreciate that. And, honestly, I could give you the whole thing for free. And honestly, I don't think it would cost anybody anything, because it's just, you're right. It's a username and a password into a system. And I'm willing to do that today. I'll just, instead of doing this 75% off, let's go 100%. But you call me, I don't pick up the phone. You need a meeting with me, I'm not going to be there. You want me to be involved, and you want other people in the company involved, and you want us to come along and support this the way that we have been for the last 2 years just to get to this table, we're going to need the full balance of this contract, and we're going to need you to agree to it. And that's where he realized that I realized what I bring to the table, and we ended up signing that contract, and I made the biggest commission of my life in that sales career. However, lesson number 2 is that we signed that contract on October 31st, 2016, Halloween. Greatest moment of my life, until I realized that deal, if I was going to get that deal and get paid for it that year and meet my bonus requirements for a $188,000 bonus on top of the normal commissions on that deal, I needed some money in on that deal prior to December 31st. So the second close was me frantically panicking, because guess what? Large companies have net 60 terms.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had some type of clause in there that if they paid before that 60 days, they would be eligible for some type of discount, and that would ruin the finances of the deal, whatever. Point is that I'm frantically wondering, when are we going to get this check? We have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas Eve, all these holidays. Net 60 is not going to work, and I'm going to miss out on a $188,000 bonus, which I wasn't willing to do. So second close, I called the president again, and I said, look, man, we've come to an agreement here. Obviously you want to see me win, right? He's like, yeah, dude, of course. This is a big win for you. I said, cool. Can I just be blunt with you? He's like, yeah. I was like, look, the one thing we both have in common is we both love cars, and he races cars and all this stuff, blah, blah. I said, I have a $188,000 bonus riding on getting the first payment of this contract in our office, in our accounts receivable, prior to December 31st. There's nothing in it for you. There's nothing in it for Sprint. There's nothing in it for literally anybody. I'm asking you if you could pull a favor with your, accounts payable or whoever's in charge of cutting that check. Could you do me a solid? Because this money is what I'd be using to buy my dream car, my Porsche 911 that I've always wanted since I was 4 years old. And he's like, dude, honestly, I appreciate you telling me this. I don't have control over writing the check, but I know people who do, and I'll do what I can. On December 29th, 2016, check arrived in the mail at the office, and I made a $188,000 bonus plus the commission on that deal.
That's amazing.
The main lesson right there in the close, the 2 lessons are: 1, know what you bring to the table. You're a human being. You're filled with more value than any product or service that you could sell. And close number 2 is sometimes good people just need to know what's in it for you so that they can do good things for you.
Yeah, that's right. Open, honest, and that builds the relationship. That builds the trust. And I love how you kind of reverse engineered the value, right? You told him you were going to close on it. He's like, he was doing his thing, obviously, as he should. And you said, no problem. I'll give it to you for free, but what's going to happen when this, and this happens? And by saying that, what I love is you've literally built the value in, and you've kind of engaged his brain in a whole different way. And that's fantastic, Jordan. That's a fantastic close. I'm so glad I asked you that question. And
that's a good question.
Yeah. So Jordan, thank you so much. And again, for our listeners, Jordan Stupar, and you can go ahead and reach him at jordanstupar.com, and that's Jordan, Stupar.com. We're going to tag him all over our social media. Check him out and check out the cash cards. It's a game changer, and I know he's got more advanced coaching in there as well too. So Jordan, thank you again for jumping on The Wealth Architect.
Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. When you're buying an investment property or a home in 2025, you need a bank that understands today's market, and so many don't. Today's market is difficult in some situations for buyers, especially investors, and that's why my team and I recommend Annie Mac Mortgage. Rich Branderies with Annie Mac Mortgage is top notch. He's fantastic. Not only does he know the business of investing and buying a home, he also knows the products and the loans that it takes to close them. So you're going to want to talk with him about your specific solution today. Rich Branderies over at Annie Mac Mortgage. You know, if you go to Google or Siri and type in Rich Branderies Annie Mac Mortgage, his profile is going to pop up. I want you to connect with him. Him and his team are going to go ahead and look at your situation. They're going to give you the right loan product for you. You're going to thank me later. Give our friends a shout at Annie Mac Mortgage today. When you're buying real estate, you need somebody that understands the ins and outs of the legal ends. It's so important to have the right attorney working for you. You also need a bulldog. Let me tell you something. The first time I sat in a conference room with this lady, Melissa Delana of Delana Law, I immediately knew she owned the room. You need an attorney that owns the room, that can solve problems and make things happen when everybody else can't. You want to hire Delana Law in Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Rhode Island. Delana Law delivers every single time. They're going to help you out with all of your real estate needs. It's delanalaw.com. You got to check them out. All right. Welcome to the Wealth Architect Podcast. I'm Emilio DiSpirito, and this is your show all about building wealth. We had a great first guest on, Jordan Stupar. If you missed that segment, go back, check it out on Spotify, SoundCloud, or iHeartRadio, also everywhere on social media. So we've got a really great guest today with us, and it's none other than Coach Kevin Kearns. Now, Coach Kevin Kearns has been in the business for about 40 years of self-improvement by focusing on your health, your mental health, your nutrition, and he has worked with over 15 UFC fighters as a strength coach. So this guy, he knows his stuff, and he knows, I don't know, a dozen different types of martial arts. He can correct me in a minute, but I'd like to introduce none other. Oh, and he wrote 2 books, Always Picked Last, and There's Light in the Tunnel. These are self-transformation books, and we're going to talk about those as well. So, Coach, welcome back.
Emilio.
Welcome back. Welcome here to the Wealth Architect.
Well, it's not like you just didn't see me this morning at 5:30.
That's why. So, by the way, Coach trains me literally 4 times a week. 5 times a week.
Because he's doing white collar fight camp.
Oh yeah.
That means 5 days a week, hardcore.
That's right. So, I'll just get into it. So,
Sure.
Coach, like literally, I would say it was 2 years ago.
Just about.
I was playing with my son, and I bent down, and I went to pick him up, and I literally almost passed out. Okay,
Yep.
and as somebody that's always go, like most of the business people
Absolutely.
or people starting businesses here, salespeople, we don't have time. That's a big excuse to take care of ourselves. And I was like, you know what? At the time I was 38 years old. And I was
Yes.
like, I want to play with my 5-year-old son and I want to enjoy my life, but I also want to show up as a leader. I want more energy. So what did I do? I went and I contacted you. So I wanted to have you here today to talk about how working on your physical health can help you build wealth.
It's a great question, Emilio, and I appreciate your time. A lot of people come to me, and we call it the 4 horsemen, okay, of the apocalypse. And when you look at chronic illness, you're talking high blood pressure, triglycerides, high blood sugar, and then waistline. And that all contributes to potentially heart disease. And that's the number one killer. I mean, to date, when you look at statins, which is basically cholesterol-lowering medications, there's 220 million prescriptions written every year. We have 320 million Americans.
Wild.
That means 3/4 of the population. So when you look at that, you really have to be concerned. Now, you're talking about, always pick last. I was the kid that stunk at every sport. My father died of alcoholism. He was only 48. I'm 58. I know I don't look it.
I thought you were 57.
No, I'm 58.
Wow.
58, going on 59.
Wow.
I know it's kind of interesting when you look at that because you go 50, 60, that's old.
You got the energy of like a 30-year-old.
Maybe better.
Yeah, maybe better.
Maybe better. Maybe like little Emilio.
You
like
want to
6.
argue?
No, I don't want to argue.
All right.
So when you look at that, you say, a lot of people come to me like yourself and other clients I've had over the years because they've worked so hard. They've pushed so hard. They're up the mountain. I think the best thing you ever described to me as an entrepreneur, this is entrepreneurship. You're running up a hill, but it's not a hill. It's a volcano. And there's lava going off and you're dodging it. And that's like every day in the business.
Yeah.
I know I've been doing this for 37 years on my own, and it hasn't been simple.
Never.
Which success isn't simple. But at the end of the day, when you look at people like ourselves and people that have their own businesses, what ends up happening is you put that aside. I'm like, oh, my physical health, my physical health, my physical health. For me, it was all about that. After my father died, the bullying got worse. A close uncle talked me into taking karate. So I am the original Karate Kid. They stole the story from me. Okay? They did. When I got involved in that, and I realized that if you practice, you get better.
That's right.
Then I started lifting weights, this, that, and the other thing. I ended up at UMass Boston. Got my degree in exercise physiology. I was personal training back in, I'm going to date myself, 1987. Before, the only people that had trainers were like Madonna.
Yeah.
And it's revolved and evolved and evolved. And I did corporate. I've done this. I've done work with the UFC fighters. And it continues to evolve. But the main factor here is, as I got busier, my business exploded overnight and went from 20 appointments a week to like 60 sometimes. Owned the gym. I've done just about everything in the business. The problem is if you don't schedule your own time, and that's almost every client I've ever had, every corporation I've had, even myself, as busy as I am, I have to put in yoga. I have to put in martial arts. I have to put in my conditioning. I have to write it in because then it goes off and go, I got to do this. I got to work out. I think it's huge to do that because if you can, for lack of a better word, check the box, I've eaten healthy. I've gotten up. It's almost like, to me, it's like brushing your teeth. I don't not work. I just worked out before I got here. Did I want to? No. I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And those are the days that you have to do it most.
Yeah.
And they make a difference.
That's right. And one of the things, so you and I work out at either 5 or 5:30 a.m., depending on the day. Now, you show up to my home 4 or 5 days a week like this, okay? And there's some days where I'm just beat. Like I'm on like 3-4 hours of sleep, right? And I don't cancel. And he shows up every single time, full of energy. But you said something to me one time. Do you remember what you told me about showing up? Just showing up.
Just show up.
Just show up.
Show up. There's a concept I learned from one of my old yoga mentors, Jackie Bonwell, and she had a packed class, 45 people in class. And she said, she was like talking to Mother Teresa. You know what I mean? She would say something and be like, what is Jackie going to say today? 45 people, mat to mat. And she said, the fact that you showed up and unrolled your mat is 90% of it.
Yeah.
It's all judgment. She'll just show up. And some days, I think the thing I've learned when I hit my 30s a while ago, I wish it was just yesterday, but it isn't, you can't push it a bit. You don't have to kill it every day. You're already killing it in business. You don't have to kill it every day. Just move and improve. Or as I say, one of my famous sayings, hustle equals muscle. And that's in business and everything else. When you exercise, you not only have mental clarity, you have physical clarity, and you feel like, geez, I feel better. I'm carrying myself different. My clothes are fitting looser. Everybody likes that.
People are looking at you differently.
Yes, and you command. And then if you take the actual structural benefits, your shoulders are back. Look what we do all day. We're curved forward. You start doing more posterior work, your shoulders are pulled back. You look more like a military officer. That's one of the reasons, because over time, what happens, gravity's pushing us down.
Yeah.
You see people like this, they get kyphosis.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's even worse with this. We do this all day long.
Yeah. We've been working on that because, one of the things that as a salesperson, right? Yeah, I'm always this. And business people, we're always like this. We're always on our phone. Like, so posture is super important.
Super important.
And I want to talk about really like how you're showing up as a business leader. And I can only speak about like personal situations, right? Or situations that I know about. So I hired a business coach who's actually our first guest on the Wealth Architect, Joe Gilmore.
Yes, Joe.
Okay. And Joe, the first time I sat down with him on a computer, he looked at me and he said, wow, you look like, SHIT, right? He's like, you look like it, bro. And that was the first thing he said to me. And I was like 35 pounds overweight. And he's like, you need a morning routine. You have to do a morning routine. So he told me to read a book, and it was called The 5 a.m. Club. Okay. And then Miracle Mornings. And then we designed a morning routine. And part of that morning routine, in addition to me, that thing happening with my son that I was talking about where I thought I was going to pass out, was working out. Okay. Now, as a business person, and I know you can appreciate this if you're listening, or a salesperson, you might have a family, you might have a million things going, you might be a startup, you might be too busy, and you might be running around. You have to make that time. And when you make that time, what's going to happen is you are going to show up completely different. You're going to talk different. You're going to walk different. Your confidence level is going to spike.
Absolutely.
And you are going to perform at a much better place. And let me ask you this, Coach. Right?
Sure.
Two guys walk into a room full of people, okay? One guy is fat, overweight. He's got on like frumpy clothes. The other guy, and by the way, I am no way saying that I'm the other guy. I'm still working off the fat thing. Right?
Aren't we all?
But I don't got frumpy clothes. But now the other guy is walking in and he's fit and his clothes fit right and he's standing straight up, okay? The other guy is kind of slouched over. Who are people respecting and who are people looking at as a leader?
That's a very excellent point, because when you look at it, if you have the discipline, okay, and the perseverance and the consistency and commitment to do your own business, why can't you apply that to your own health and wellness?
Correct.
And when you look at it, okay, great. So I've made more money. Okay, that's great. And everybody talks about lifespan. That's great. But what good is lifespan without health span? I want to be climbing up rocks with my grandkids when I'm in my 80s. If I get to live that long.
You will.
Oh, I plan on it. I mean, I'm going to be like, I'll probably be like,
if you live that long.
Well, I'll probably be the gym teacher in like, the El Mafi Coast at like 80. Get on the floor, do push-ups. But the more you move, the more you improve.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big concept to keep that mindset. Do something, go for a walk, get out to nature.
Yeah.
And don't think that it doesn't add up. One of my biggest sayings, and you know this, every time you work out is a deposit in your fitness IRA.
I love that. Since we're talking about wealth, it's all about health. So everything you do, every time you work out is a deposit into your fitness IRA. I love that.
And what good is it? What good is it all the money if you're unhealthy? How many people have you seen unhealthy? And I know you've seen a bunch over your time.
I was, and I've seen it.
I see it every day. And then people think like what's that old saying? How do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. Yeah. I don't have time. I don't have this. Okay. And I always tell people, you don't have time? Yeah. Okay, how much time are you spending on this? How much time are you spending on that? It's almost like when I first meet clients, usually my clientele is more male with this product, with the white collar fight camp, and with the self-defense view, it's more the female. But the white collar fight camp, I tell the guys, are like, okay. I ask them, I go, well, you're kind of expensive. I go, okay, what'd you spend on your last dinner out with your wife? $300. Okay, so you could have got a session and a half with me. Okay, what'd you spend on your last vacation? $20,000. I go, okay, were you comfortable taking your shirt? And I hit him with this right in the gut.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable taking your shirt off on the beach? Okay, so for half that money in 6 months, you might be comfortable for the rest of your life. You need to build a habit with this. Commitment, consistency.
That's right. It's all about building a habit. So let's say you've got somebody who, out of shape or maybe, in shape, okay? But they want to increase their energy. Is there any one exercise that you feel or any one thing that they could do to just kind of start that habit of getting into working out or fitness?
Sure. Let's say they already work out. I would tell them explore other options. Do something that makes you scared. Like if you told me 18 years ago I'd be doing yoga, I would have told you you're nuts. Now I can't live without it. So do something outside the box, because if you look at the 70s cars, right? They burned a lot of gas. The better you get at something, the more you start running like a Ferrari. So now you have to go backwards a little bit to get that. So I always tell clients, mix it up, do something different. Like remember the time you were so inspired, you're going to New York to go kayaking all day, and then you're coming back in the morning to train me.
Same day.
Yeah. Now, was I sore?
Yeah.
But for a fact, if I didn't do functional strength training, strength that you can use, if I didn't do that, I would never survive that.
Wow.
Never.
Yeah, I remember that. That was very inspiring.
I'm going to Florida now. I'm going to do this thing because you went to New York and did that.
Well, yeah. So then I was inspired.
Exactly.
And I went to this conference in Florida. And while I was in this conference in Florida, Coach was like, you're getting up at 5 and you're working out with me. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm paying for it. I'll do it, whatever. But I'm so glad I did. And we worked out for half an hour. I put him on my phone. We FaceTimed and I worked out. I got to tell you, I felt fantastic the rest of the day. Full of energy. I got out in the panel in Sarasota and I freaking crushed it.
Exactly.
Well, I feel like I crushed it.
No, well, you said that because again, it's a routine, right?
Yeah.
You have to. Most successful people, you look at almost all of them, big successful people, Anthony Robbins, they're all freaks about keeping that routine. And when I go away, you have to keep that routine. As you know, those bands we use, the resistance bands, they've been all over the world. The biggest thing you saw away from that was like, you came back that morning, he was already awake the next day. He was like, oh, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. And then you're like, I didn't want to go out that night. I came back. I reserved my energy. So it's all,
That's right.
It all ties together.
Yeah, I didn't drink. I ate healthier and all of these things. And well, that's
And not to interrupt, dovetail that, you feel better about yourself because, like, well, I checked that box. I took care of my mental and physical health.
And not only the coach, not only in work, but also in personal, right?
Absolutely.
Like, how do your children look at you? And you are, if you're the father, you're the mother, whatever, you are one of the leading examples for your child.
Exactly.
Right. And I think
Absolutely.
as a country, right. And as a country, we're very unhealthy and we need to get back to being healthy. So this is
74% obesity rate right now in the
that's
US.
wild.
74%.
That's
kind of scary.
So look, you can reach out to Coach Kearns. What's the website?
If you can't tell, burnwithkearns.com.
Perfect. Burnwithkearns.com. Now, if you're local in the Rhode Island, Massachusetts, or Connecticut area, you can actually, work out with Kearns in person, or you can go ahead.
Or groups.
Yeah,
And
that's
corporate.
right. That's right. In corporate.
And now the online, that works.
Or online. So check out his website. You can see all of the things that you can do. But if you're not local, you can also connect with him as well. See all of his content. And he's also a writer for Biohack, which is pretty impressive.
Biohack Yourself, Rhode Island News Today, and I've written for a C- in English. I've written 380 articles or something like that. Kind of funny.
Before we cut real quick, this is the common denominator between so many people that have been on the show and so many people that I've seen very successful is that they're not all A+ students, but they have grit. They persevere, they have resilience, and they take care of themselves mentally and physically. And guess what? If you're not doing it right now, that's okay. You're showing up here, so you're interested in it. You've taken the first step. Now take the next step and go ahead and crush your goals by taking care of your health. Awesome. Coach Kearns, you're the man. Appreciate you being on.
And remember, in order to have the grind, you have to have some grit.
I love it. That's right. Good stuff. Thanks for joining us on The Wealth Architect. When you're purchasing an investment property or a home, you're going to want to make sure that you have somebody that knows that property inside and out. Look, if you're not in the Rhode Island market, I feel absolutely bad for you because you don't have Mike Auger of Patriot Home Inspections. Mike is not only a veteran who fought for this country, he was a contractor for several years. He was the first home inspector that I used, and now he is one of the only home inspectors that I recommend. Look, if he's busy or can't make a home inspection, then I'll go to the other guys. He's always my first choice. Mike Auger of Patriot Home Inspections, he gets it done. He's going to go ahead and test the structural components of the property. That's the roof, that's the foundation, the mechanical, that's the electric, that's the plumbing, and he can also check for mold, radon, and all of those other things that trouble you. Check him out at homeinspectorri.com. Again, homeinspectorri.com. He's the best out there. Mike Auger, Patriot Home Inspections, homeinspectorri.com. I got to tell you, I had a blast today. We had some amazing guests here. And, if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, you need to check it out. We are the Wealth Architect Podcast with Emilio DiSpirito. And make sure you follow us on Instagram so you can stay engaged with all of the latest content and you can grow and build your wealth. Let's do it together. We'll be back here next week on SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Instagram. All of the major platforms. We're there. We'll see you then.